Imagine standing in one of the most famous museums in the world, staring at the Mona Lisa, one of the most priceless works of art ever created. Now picture someone walking in, simply taking the painting off the wall, and casually walking out. It sounds like a movie scene, right? But it happened in real life. Today, we're diving into the story of Vincenzo Peruggia, the man who stole the Mona Lisa, and the shocking truth behind why no one stopped him. The perfect heist. How it happened. In 1911, the world was shocked when one of the most valuable works of art, the Mona Lisa, was stolen from the Louvre Museum in Paris. The audacity of the crime was almost too incredible to believe. The painting, which had been hanging in the museum for years, was simply gone. But what's even more shocking is how it happened. A man named Vincenzo Peruggia, an Italian handyman, was the mastermind behind this brazen heist. Peruggia, who had been working at the Louvre for a few years, knew the museum well. He was familiar with the ins and outs of the Louvre's security, and more importantly, the habits of the museum staff. On the morning of August 21, 1911, Peruggia hid in the museum overnight and waited for the perfect moment. When the museum closed for the day, he made his move. Disguised in the work uniform of a museum employee, Peruggia simply took the Mona Lisa off the wall, wrapped it up, and walked out. He hid the painting under his coat as he left the building without anyone raising an alarm. The question that has baffled historians for years is, how did he get away with it? Why didn't anyone notice or stop him as he walked out of one of the most famous museums in the world with the world's most famous painting? The answer lies not just in Peruggia's cunning, but in the fact that the security at the time was far less advanced than what we would expect today. The museum staff was unaware of any theft until the following morning when the painting was reported missing. The motive: why Peruggia stole the Mona Lisa. While the heist itself was daring and almost cinematic, the motive behind the theft is what truly makes Peruggia's story fascinating. Peruggia wasn't a criminal in the traditional sense. He wasn't looking to sell the painting for millions of dollars. He was motivated by a deep sense of nationalism and a belief that the Mona Lisa belonged in Italy, not France. Peruggia was an Italian patriot, and his theft was driven by a misguided belief that the painting should be returned to Italy, its rightful home. The Mona Lisa had been taken to France by Leonardo da Vinci in the early 1500s, and Peruggia believed that Italy deserved to have it back. He felt that the painting had been stolen from his country by France and that it should be displayed in an Italian museum, not in the Louvre. His motives were rooted in a sense of national pride, but the way he went about it was completely illegal. Peruggia kept the painting hidden in his apartment in Paris for over 2 years, all the while convincing himself that he was performing a patriotic duty. In fact, he even tried to sell the painting to art dealers in Italy, believing that he would be hailed as a hero upon its return. However, no one was willing to buy the Mona Lisa from him, as they quickly realized that it had been stolen. The search and discovery. How the Mona Lisa was recovered. The theft of the Mona Lisa was an international scandal. For more than 2 years, the painting was missing, and despite numerous efforts to track it down, it seemed to vanish into thin air. The theft sparked widespread media attention, with newspapers across the world covering the story, making the Mona Lisa even more famous. People speculated wildly about who might have taken the painting and why. Some even believed that the painting had been destroyed, while others thought it had been hidden away in a private collection. The case remained unsolved until 1913, when an Italian art dealer, Alfredo Geri, received a mysterious visit from Peruggia. Peruggia, convinced that he could sell the Mona Lisa to an Italian museum, approached Geri with the painting. Geri, immediately recognizing it as the famous work, contacted the authorities. Peruggia was arrested, and the painting was returned to the Louvre, where it has remained ever since. Despite being caught, Peruggia's motives were sympathetic to some, and he was treated less harshly than one might expect for such a crime. He was eventually released after serving just a short prison sentence, as some believed his actions were driven by patriotic fervor rather than greed. Why no one stopped him. The museum's vulnerabilities. The fact that Peruggia managed to steal the Mona Lisa and walk out of the Louvre without being caught speaks to the vulnerabilities in the museum's security at the time. The security systems in place in 1911 were rudimentary at best. There were no modern surveillance cameras, no sophisticated alarm systems, and certainly no thorough checks of museum staff members at the time. Peruggia exploited this weakness in the system, knowing that a museum employee would be trusted and able to move about the building freely. The security team at the Louvre had no reason to suspect an employee would commit such a bold act, especially someone like Peruggia, who had worked there without incident for years. Additionally, the museum had no standardized procedures for handling incidents of theft, which made it easier for Peruggia to carry out his plan. It wasn't until the next morning that anyone even noticed the painting was missing, and by then, Peruggia was long gone. Legacy of the theft. Mona Lisa's continued fame. Although the Mona Lisa was returned to the Louvre in 1913, the theft has only added to the legend of the painting. The theft elevated the painting's status as a symbol of art and culture. What was already an iconic work became even more so, thanks to the international coverage of the crime and the intrigue surrounding its disappearance. Today, the Mona Lisa is one of the most visited artworks in the world, and it remains an enduring symbol of both the beauty of art and the fragility of cultural heritage. Peruggia's theft, however, serves as a cautionary tale about the lengths some individuals will go to for personal beliefs, and it raises questions about how vulnerable priceless works of art are to theft. It also highlights the importance of securing cultural treasures and ensuring that such works are protected from those who would seek to take them for personal reasons or nationalistic causes. The theft of the Mona Lisa by Vincenzo Peruggia remains one of the most audacious and puzzling art crimes in history. If you found this story as fascinating as we did, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth looks at historical crimes, mysteries, and the true stories behind some of the world's most famous events.